Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Haven't had this fella out for a while. This is a bent brandy that I made from a blank a couple years ago. Just really enjoy this guy. Hadn't smoked him for a while, either for myself or on a video, and I wanted to bring him back out. And there is a reason why I have the Indiana Torch Relay hat on for this video. You'll find out what that is as we go deep into both Indiana and American history. As always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. So I think I've talked about this once before on this channel. What the deal is with the hat here. Indiana became a state in 1816. So for our 200th anniversary, our bicentennial, in 2016, one of the things the state did was to have a torch relay carried by citizens throughout all of our 92 counties. You applied, see if you could be a torch bearer, and I applied and got to be one, so got to carry the torch for a little leg. They gave us some nice swag, including this hat. And it seemed appropriate to have a hat connected with Indiana history because of the incredibly cool thing I need to share with you. So I've got a letter here that I want to share with you. This was written to my mom from, her first cousin, a fellow named Denny McClellan. And he says, this is almost 20 years ago. He says, "Dear Patty, as we discussed last night, here is the Grand Army of the Republic Medal for our great-grandfather, Henry C. McClellan." I'm going to show you this medal. This is the point of the video. I really want to show you this medal. Also enclosed is a linen army, hard to read, it's right here, Army reunion ribbon showing his unit during the Civil War. The color of gold and yellow is the color associated with cavalry units. The 13th Indiana Cavalry was organized at Indianapolis, Kokomo, and New Albany between December 23rd, 1863 and April 29th, 1864, and left Indiana on April 30th, 1864 for Huntsville, Alabama. Company E participated in the Siege of Decatur, Alabama, October 26th through the 29th, the Battle of Nashville, Tennessee, December 15th through the 16th, and other Tennessee battles. The unit moved to Vicksburg, Mississippi, then to New Orleans and to Mobile Bay, February 11th to March 23rd, 1865. It was involved in the capture of Mobile on April 12th and raids through Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi in April and May 1865. They were on garrison duty in Mississippi until disbanded at Vicksburg on November 18th, 1865. The medal and ribbon were kept by Henry C. McClellan until his death. At that time, he was living with his widowed daughter-in-law, Della Johnson McClellan, our grandmother. She gave the medal and ribbon to Delmer W. McClellan, my father, and he gave it to me. I think these two items are real family treasures that connect our ancestors with the central event of the nation's history. As a retired Army officer who served in multiple armor and cavalry units, these items are most meaningful, but I thought they should return to Indiana. Thanks for accepting them. Warmest regards, Denny. So, incredibly cool that he wanted to, despite it having really come down through the family, to his father, My great uncle Delmer McClellan, and Denny being an Army guy himself, he thought this should really go back to Indiana, which is where this all originated. So, in the package, he sent her this little box here. Let's open this guy up. There's some protective stuff there. We'll set that aside. And let's see if we can get some nice light on this here. So here you go. Company E, 13th Indiana Cavalry. Got a little eagle and ribbon here. Down here we got a star, and it says Grand Army of the Republic. So, give you a nice little look at that. Well reserved, and definitely a family heirloom and a family treasure, as Denny said. So, the primary thing in the video is I wanted to show that to you. But let's talk about that a little bit. Regardless of the issues surrounding the Civil War, and there are many, let's talk about family in various combat situations, and especially we'll talk about the Civil War. But let's start off with this. And I asked my students this. When my second year Latin students in high school, we read the war writings of Julius Caesar, who in the 50s BC waged a war of conquest in Gaul, which roughly became modern-day France. And we always start that off with a discussion of what relatives do you know that are in or have been in any of our armed services, any that you know of that were in any actual wars, conflicts. Tell some of those stories. So it's always neat to kind of get that background from the students. And occasionally you get somebody that goes way back. Occasionally you get somebody who has some ancestors they've traced back to the Civil War or the Revolutionary War or something like that. So let's start from the beginning. Anybody out there have family members that you know of that were connected in the American Revolution, the Revolutionary War? How about anything like the French and Indian Wars, War of 1812? What about the American Civil War, which I imagine some people have done their genealogy. You might have some connections there. What about World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, any of those conflicts? What do you know? What would you like to share with us? Would love to hear some of your stories in terms of who it was in your family. If you know what branch of the military they served in, if you know what they did, and again, if they were in a particular conflict, would love to hear those stories. Now, why do you think that is that we are fascinated? And that's the word I want to use here. Now, yes, there is the whole, we want to respect our people who served in the military and honor them. You think about Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and these kinds of things. And there is that. So that's kind of a baseline. For a lot of people, there's a real fascination about the wars, and especially about family members who were in these conflicts. I've got some thoughts on that, but I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. I think all of it is we like the connection to history. Right? We read about this stuff in the books. You read about Gettysburg, and you read about George Washington, and Valley Forge and these kinds of things. And you go, well, okay, that's out there. It's in the history book. But then when I find out that my great 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 grandfather or somebody was in one of those things. It kind of makes a more personal connection for us with our national history, or in this case, a state history. Now, here's one for you. Had you heard of the Grand Army of the Republic? It was that a term that you knew. Some of you I know will. You will have heard that. I confess I did not know that term until I got this years ago. So, if you don't mind, I'm just going to bring this back out one more time for you because it is really, really cool. So, here we go. Nice look at Grand Army of the Republic Medal, Company E, 13th Indiana Cavalry, going back to the 1860s. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this short little trip down memory lane. And as always, as Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I like to say in Latin, Parva ago ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.